everyone, and welcome to the community here with eXp Realty. We are so excited about today's Core 90 session because we've got Joe Yates and Tyler Boening both in the house. Absolutely incredible agents. These guys are leaders to the max. You're going to be blown away today by the content that they're bringing as well. Super excited for this one in particular. Now, today, we've got Joe and Tyler talking to us a little bit about mindset. And so without any further ado, I'm going to bring both these awesome guys up here, and I'm going to get out of the way. Joe, I think you're up first. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, buddy.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome because the market's been particularly easy. Everybody's having a lot of fun. There's no stress out
Perfect.
there. Yeah,
I
no
believe you.
anxiety or anything. So yeah, so it makes it a lot of fun. Uh, hey, Tyler, what are you seeing, buddy? You're not having any headaches or anything, right, man? What do you got going out there, Tyler?
I don't know, man. My wife and I argued last night. I had four terminations on Saturday. All the NAR stuff is popping up. Everything's just a little bit stressful, Joe, to be honest.
It's I think that's kind of the way everybody's seeing things right there. Hey guys, we really want to have this today as more of a, there's times when you're going to sit there and you're going to talk leads, you're going to talk systems, you're going to talk things, and you're going to have bullet points, and you're going to go through the thing, and you're going to say, and then you're going to go to this and this and this, and that's just flat out, a presentation of what somebody's doing. And what we really want to do is have this more of a conversation than a presentation, because we want this to be particularly interactive because everybody's going through a lot of stuff. And this is the type of thing, it's like when you meet with somebody at lunch, you get things off your chest and you kind of go, what the hell are you seeing, man? And how are you getting through this? And what do is this going to kick our ass as bad as we think? And by the way, yeah, it's, sometimes when Tyler and I get going, it's not safe for work. So anybody going to be easily offended, we'll see you next week. But and we do it accidentally. So just, don't worry about it. We have no discipline. But no, we really want it to be pretty interactive if possible. How many people, well, I should say for most people, it seems like right now, the last few years haven't been very damn easy. 2020 was free money, right? Woo! Yeah, I mean, 2020, free money. 2021, free money. So anybody who got in the business during those times and they think that's the way normal business is and now this is tough, no, that's the way free money is. And yes, this is still pretty tough. But yeah, how many people have got their ass kicked a little bit in 2024? Show of hands. All right. 2023, anybody get their ass kicked last year? A little bit, a little bit. Maybe even 2022, a little bit of an ass kicking. Okay. Am I the only one that got their ass kicked 3 years in a row? Damn, I suck. But think about that for a second. I mean, this takes some freaking perseverance. I mean, you go and all of a sudden 2022, you're going, okay, this kind of sucks. Halfway through the year, it starts sucking. I'll get through it. Then toward the end of the year, it got brutal. And then 2023 was pretty brutal. And 2024 has been a little better, but it's not exactly rolling for a lot of people. Some of the people on the call might be doing particularly well, but a lot of people have been struggling. And so what we want to do is talk about, one, what are the things that people are particularly struggling with? I mean, obviously our volume, and the reasons that our volume is down. And then what are some of the other things that, people are struggling with and they're keeping us, because this call is about how to be motivated when we're not motivated. And Jeff actually sent us a text yesterday morning as a reminder. And I was sitting here thinking, yeah, I'd like somebody to tell me this shit right now. How the hell could I was in the gym and I'm like going, could somebody come in here and just give me a hug or a kick in the ass? Or I don't know which one I need, but yeah, that's it sometimes. It's like, how the hell do we get motivated when we just want to, close our laptop and, go get a cocktail and curl up in a ball? So, that's where we're at. So what are some of the things that you guys are seeing? And then Tyler will jump back in here, but we got guys on here on the call that talk, are willing to talk. And, tell us some of the stuff that you're seeing right now that's been a little bit of an ass kicker, and whether it's, you know, the business, the anxiety stuff that's coming from things down the pipe, personal stuff related to the business. Let's just have a conversation right here and help each other. So who's got something going right now?
Because being frank, 8 out of 10 agents that I talk to are struggling and having these difficulties with one thing or the other. And so with, you know, almost 25 people in the room, if nobody speaks up, I don't know, I'll decide who I want to pick on.
Jason got his hand up, and he was going to get picked on if he didn't. So good
Yeah,
job.
pretty much.
Well, I would have met you at the gym this morning, given you a hug, and then smacked you. So I just want to let you know I would have helped you with both.
Perfect.
I was excited for this core 90, like all of them, because I really believe that the day starts with mindset. So some of the things that are tough for me, and I'm just, you know, putting this out there and hoping that it opens up for more people, is it gets discouraging to do your activities and not see results like we used to, right? 2020, 2019, we'd come in, before we knew it, we were writing offers, doing listings, and now we're doing a lot of that same activity and maybe even more. And man, sometimes it just gets discouraging. So that's a struggle, right? Every day to keep that mindset going of put the work in, it'll pay off. So I wanted to throw that out there.
No, I love that.
It's true. I talked with some title companies, 2 different moments, like very separated from each other. My 2 preferred escrow officers, and both essentially said the same damn thing. Casually, there's like, oh yeah, about, you know, 50% of what comes in we terminate. They're like, damn, like that's nuts. And thinking about the agent side, because they're obviously all cush on their salaries with the bonuses for everything that closes there, but it was just like, all right, like that's a heck of a factor to know. So even the people who are seeing the results, I mean, God, if you got a 50-50 shot, it's going to bring you down a little bit and take you down a few pegs. Because even the one thing I said in the beginning that was true, well, 2 things I said was true. I argued with my wife last night about what to have for dinner. But the second, it was like on Saturday, I had 3 terminations hit my lap and had to send an additional 1 out within an hour and a half. And it was just like, well, okay, it's termination day. That's beautiful. And just had to keep on plowing and, you know, like flipping that script and making a bunch more phone calls and everything. Because then I ended up actually showing a house on Sunday, and I wrote an offer on Monday morning to try to freaking recoup. We're in backup, which pisses me off. But, you know, and also I'm like, oh, well, we have a 50-50 shot. It's hard not to let that stuff seep in. Right? And it sucks. But, and like, for all the struggles people are having right now, like you can tell me all day long about your struggles and like NAR thing and everything else, right? But the hell are you doing about it? Like that's my big question. That's what I asked to Joe yesterday. Like, what the hell are you going to do about it? Like, I don't care really about anything else. And I try to have that same mentality with myself. Like, oh, piss me, poor me. Like, great. Am I going to wake up tomorrow in the same exact position and piss me, poor me that I did today? I definitely don't want to. So it's like what are those steps you take? And Joe and I talked a little bit yesterday on some of like the mental steps and like things to remind ourselves yesterday. Do you want to talk about any of that?
Yeah, well, first, I mean, Stephanie's got her hand up. I want to touch really quick on what you just said, and then I want to go to Stephanie. But the one thing that's really impressive about what he just said is, well, one, he had 4 deals in escrow. So a lot of people would go, that'd be cool. But then they all canceled. So then that sucks. Yeah. So, but then the fact that he turned around, rallied, went back to work on Sunday and wrote an offer. Because again, it'd be pretty easy to sit there and just go, okay, I'm shutting her down for the weekend. I'm going to have a pity party, and, we'll get back at it later. So he had the strength and the mindset and the perseverance at that point in time to go ahead and say, you know what, I got to trudge forward. I got to sign up on my, I got my board up there with my deals, etc., and a couple little notes to myself. And then, but down there in the bottom left-hand corner, it just says, keep going, underlined exclamation points. I mean, that's a reminder when you just look up there and you go, fuck, whatever you say, and you look up and you just go, and then you see a note that says, keep going. The fact that has to be on my board says something. So Stephanie, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm a new agent and I feel like maybe at this point I feel a little bit in the bubble because I haven't been out there and I haven't don't have those experiences yet. But I do feel like hearing from you guys about this is very helpful because it kind of gives me a more realistic frame of mind to come into this. And like you were saying, just keep going and like taking it one step at a time, one day at a time. Um, and but I guess my question is what, as far as new agents, what what sort of what sort of tips or pointers can you give us as far as keeping the head in the game and like you said, just moving forward one day at a time?
All right, let me take this real quick. And you stay on there. One thing you can do is not listen to some of the nonsense that we're going to say today. Do not be poisoned by the negative, feelings and whining and sniveling of people around you that have been spoiled by a good, previous market. So if you were to have come in with just a bunch of new agents instructed to go out and sell homes, and you didn't have anybody sniveling about what it was like a few years ago when the rates were at 3%, you guys would just go out there and kick ass and take names. But you have a bunch of us whiners that are sitting here saying, this is way harder than it used to be. And you're like going, it's harder than what? It's just, it is what it is. This is all I know. Mm-hmm. So don't buy into it. Zig Ziglar gives a story about how new sales agents can go in and go into a sales territory and totally outsell the old professionals because they go in there and the old guys are sitting around going, this territory is completely sold out. And the new people are going, wow, this is amazing. And we're making a ton of money. So the one thing I would say is listen to strategies and stuff from those of us that have been in it for a while. If you get in a funk, then maybe listen to some of the tips about trying to stay positive, but don't buy in to any negative BS from anybody. And that includes anybody you respect for their volume, me, Tyler, your mentor, whoever. Anybody that's sniveling, you got to tune that thing down a little bit. That's my biggest tip, I would tell you.
My big thing, and that like I've done a lot of work with like newer agents in the past, is I'm always on point of like I would love to guide you on the things that you're gonna be good at, but you got to get out there and try them. Go spend 2.5 weeks doing open houses, then spend a week calling expireds and for sale by owners, and then spend a week door knocking, and then spend a week because if you try 100 things, you're gonna like 2 of them. The 2 that you like, you're gonna excel at the most. Period. Right? Because you're gonna love what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing, and that's just naturally where you'll flourish, and that's where you want to pour your energy into. But it's gonna take a little like failure. Right? You've got to get out there and fail as fast as possible, as fast as possible, right? To figure out what you do that's good. And to what Joe said, I mean, there are so many negative Nancy's. I mean, the best thing you could probably do for yourself, like now that we're June was the 6th month, and we're past that, hop into MLS and find the freaking top producers. Go and sit down and have lunch with them. Surround yourself with those people. It doesn't matter what brokerage they're at. If they're producing, they're doing something right. So they have something that you can duplicate, and just ask them to talk about themselves. We're real estate agents. All of us have giant egos. We love to talk about ourselves. Right? Joe and I's lunches, that's all we do. Compliment each other and talk about ourselves. And but put yourself in the position to do that and hear what people are doing, because a huge thing right now, especially with like rates up and this, that, the other thing, and all the negative Nancy crap, right? There are people who are flourishing right now. And I mean, even to like testament like 2008 when the market crashed and everything else, Jeff probably knows the stats better than I do, but like more multimillionaires were made coming out of that than any other time in US history. People started grinding. But there's a method to the madness. And yeah, like Jeff said in the chat, like success leaves clues. And the other thing that I cannot hit on enough, because I've worked with so many new agents and I've watched like so many fall away and so many stay in. I will tell you, like between Core 90, open coaching hour, like the things that are provided, like with EXP, the education calendar, treat it like a freaking movie theater. The more that you plug in, I promise you, the more successful you'll be. If
Yes.
you're listening to real estate while you're driving between appointments, or even if you're just going to the store and listen to podcasts and everything else, right? But like you show up and you're constantly just having that wheel turning, more and more will click into place for your business on what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
And a lot of agents too, like even experienced ones, right, who I've like chatted with and helped out, like they fall away from that. And that's where that whole little semblance comes in. Oh, back to the basics. What does that even mean? And stop being stupid and do the elementary things that work and have been proven for decades.
Right.
So that's my take on that too.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Jeff just posted less Netflix, more business growth, and which is true. I would also say less Facebook. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how many of us are guilty, but particularly with the stuff that went on the other day, which the stuff was actually the attempted assassination of the former president. But you know, we can get on, and all of a sudden, it's just like we're just going to end up angry. You know, we're just going to end up pissed off. We're just going to end up frustrated. We're just going to end up calling people names. We're just going to, you know, what are we going to do with that energy after we take it? We're taking it in, we're creating it, and then we start venting, and we turn into, you know, we turn into somebody probably uglier than the person that we're, you know, commenting about their stupid opinion. And so we really need to be guarded at a time. I was talking to a buddy the other day on the phone that I love, and he, you know, I just go, hey man, I'm like, you know, I got crap right now. I said, if you gotta, I'm your guy if you want to vent for a second, and I'm your guy if you need a, you know, a question answered, you know, if I might have an answer for the solution, but otherwise I'm trying to guard my brain right now. Because and I think that we need to do that. We need to establish some boundaries to keep our sanity right now, and keep our mental health going in the right direction. You know, I think that's a big thing.
Hey, Joe. First off, you actually just reminded me of something, because I love that you said guard your brain. That's such great verbiage, because it makes you think and kind of visualize how that works. You know, this is the kind of thing where you hear a lot of people preach about it, but they don't do it. This is something that Lexi and I decided to implement years ago that we still do every day. And I cannot possibly emphasize how powerful it is for us. But every single evening when we're out walking, we walk our dogs in the evening just because we have too many Aussies. And so they're just bundles of energy, and they'll be absolute psychopaths in our house all day if we don't give them a lot of walking time. So we go out for very long walks, which is great. And I love that. In fact, he's clawing at the door. Hold on one second. And speaking of psychopaths, this destroying my recording. Anyway, and so when we go out, though, Lexi and I always say 3 gratitudes. It's no prescriptive. We don't have to name each. Oh, I'm grateful for you. Oh, me too. High five. It's not that. It's like whatever it might be. I'm grateful that my foot feels good right now. It might be I'm grateful for the temperature of the air. It might be I'm grateful for the way that the sky looks. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But what's interesting is you get more of whatever you're focused on. And I find that people who are focused on negativity, you know, Joe just said, guard your brain, guard your mind, right? If you're focused on negativity, what's interesting is you're going to keep seeing negativity. And so there's going to be more negativity, right? Oh, the Democratic or the Republicans, they're all terrible, right? Whichever side you're on, doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, if it's all terrible, then guess what you're going to get more of? Terrible. And raise your hand if you want a terrible life, right? Raise your hand if you're stupid. Same people. Okay, great. So guess what? You don't have to choose that. You don't have to choose that. You can simply say, what am I grateful for? Sometimes if we're doing the extended version, we'll name our 3 gratitudes. Then we'll say, we call it the Power 9. We don't do it all the time, but maybe once a week. Then we'll say 3 things that we're working on, just personally, whatever that is. I'm working on responding, not reacting. That's one of mine, right? Like sometimes I react and I get, you know, things trigger me, and that's stupid. So I'm working on that. So we'll name 3 of those each. We go back and forth, and then we'll name 3 things that we're manifesting. Now, you don't have to do it You may be like, well, that's voo-voo and I would never do that. I'll tell you, it has changed our world like dynamically. And that sounds like it should be dumb. What's weird is when you start training your mind to purposefully look for things that you're actually grateful for, what happens? You start feeling grateful more often. And that's not a bad thing. And what's really interesting then is when you're in times of stress, right? Or bad things happen to you. Bad things have happened to me in the last 10 years. I've been sitting across a lawyer's desk from a bankruptcy attorney, for anyone who didn't know. That's happened within the last 10 years. I had a 7-figure lawsuit, like had all sorts of stuff. Okay. So shit happens to real people constantly. Boo-hoo. All right, get over it. However, when you're focused on gratitude, you can be in the midst of that and you can say, and I still have my life and I'm grateful for that. And my arm feels good. That's kind of interesting. I'm grateful for that, right? That little ingrown hair I had came out. Woohoo! You know, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? We all can find something in a moment to feel grateful for, or we could find something to be angry about. Think about something that makes you feel angry right now, right? I can find it immediately. My brain just found it, actually. It was a face, which was interesting. I won't tell you whose. Jason is like, so it's interesting because your mind will find whatever you tell it to. Your brain is stupid. So just program it smart.
No, I like that. I was at the gym yesterday and I got back in there and that in and of itself is one of the important things, I think, Stephen Covey. I love Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I started listening to that a little bit again, but he talks about mind, body, spirit, getting everything in order. It's one of the books that will really walk you through absolutely everything. I mean, on how to process yourself, the things. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's freaking pretty damn good. But I was in there, and the only reason I brought him up is because he talks about health as one of the things and stuff, and which reminded me of the Train song. Where the lyrics, she listens to Mozart while she does Tybo, reminds me that there's room to grow. So I'm like going, that to me, it was always a cool line because it's like she listens to Mozart while she does Tybo. She's growing in multiple ways at the same time. So it's the same thing. If you can take a little bit of time to go to the gym, now all of a sudden or go for a walk or whatever you're doing, you're going to get a little fitness, you're going to get a little mind clarity in that. And now if you're to mix in whether it's a little bit of, personal development stuff, what have you, it's, now you're doing 2 things at one time. Now all of a sudden you're working on your business mind and some mental clarity and your physical all at the same time. And it only took an extra, 45 minutes of your day or something like that. But when I went to the gym yesterday morning, I was getting ready to go in and I'm looking at I'm like, I was in a funk. I mean, I was like, that's an understatement. I was in a shitty mood. And so I'm there and I'm like going, okay, what am I going to listen to? I got my AirPods in and I'm like, do I continue to listen to Tiger Woods tell me about golf? That was actually my first choice because, I suck. He doesn't. I thought, okay, this might be the one. And then I went, I'm going to go to my playlist and play something. And my playlist is very eclectic. So it goes to country, to Build Me Up Buttercup, to, Barry Manilow, to Eminem. I mean, so it's got a lot of stuff. And I scrolled through it, like pick a song to get started on. Well, I actually picked a Christian song called Grateful, to Jeff's point. So I clicked Grateful and I said, let's just start right here. And I'm listening to that and I tell you, my mood just completely changed. And I went, no, this doesn't, I'm not going my playlist. Now I set it up to the radio for that song. So that's all I was going to listen to the rest of the time I was in there. Listening to the rest of the time I was in there, sat in the driveway, got a little teary-eyed, ended up way better mental clarity that is then went through the rest of the day, carried into today, talked about it with Tyler at lunch yesterday, used grateful as, kind of like my, starting point, my cornerstone, if you will. And that is a big deal. I got these books in front of me, As a Man Thinketh, Power of Positive Thinking, Think and Grow Rich. These are all, there's a reason that these are the big books of, personal development. It's about getting this thing right. Everything starts with getting this thing right. Once we get this thing right, the rest of it gets a hell of a lot easier. I quote Steve Chandler all the time. One of my favorite business quotes. It says the reason that most sales training fails is because it's implemented at the doing rather than at the being. And it's that being part. It's that core. It's getting you set. I wrote down Aristotle's quote. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, it's a habit. Once we can get our mind right, and then we can start repeating those habits over and over and over again. Like Jason said, it's frustrating when you're doing the things that you used to do and you're not having the success. However, you keep doing them, provided it's not like a who moved my cheese type thing where all of a sudden you're doing something, you're like, I'm out there trying to sell 8-tracks and it's not working. It's like, now I guess that's old and antiquated. Now it's like trying to sell CDs and it's not working. Oh my God. And, so it is that doing that repeated thing, but you got to have this thing right. It's keeping that thing. And then what do I have to do? It's easy to say, I want to be positive. What do I personally have to do to get my mind in a good spot? And I think being grateful and tapping into those things where all of a sudden you start going, hey, I just recently had some knee surgery 2 weeks ago, just meniscus cut off. I like to go to the gym now. A month ago, I didn't. Now I get to go to the gym. All of a sudden being laid up, I went, oh, I appreciate the ability to go to the gym now. And I'm grateful that I get to go to the gym. Being in the gym feels so much different than it did any time during the last few years. So now I'm in there going, oh, I can move my left leg. You get that gratitude going and it's going to help you get this thing right.
Joe, I love that. And I just put a little quote from the American Psychological Association. They were talking about literally there's research now that shows, and because you were mentioning the song that you listened to, which I'm guessing also is connected to an experience that you've had, or you heard that song in an environment and it connects back to an emotional state, right? There's a linkage there somehow. And it definitely connects to your faith, which is also then connected to a number of positive experiences, positive messaging, et cetera. And so but the American Psychological Association literally says that this works. But here's the other thing that they don't say in their quote. It says music can influence the way that we feel. It should say music will always influence the way that you feel, and it can influence it positively if it's positive music. If you listen to music that says everyone sucks and everything's horrible, and that's the lyric, and you're like singing it, even if you're dancing around doing it, I promise you, like it might increase your adrenaline, but what's programming your mind is that everything sucks and everyone's horrible, right? Or I'm going to kill that mother junker or whatever it is. I'm not telling you guys how to think, how to believe, anything like that. I'm not a programming person on that level. I will tell you though, if you want to control your mind, or guard your mind, as Joe said, you have to be really, really thoughtful about all the programming. I have a good morning mix that I listen to. I've thought about it. Every single song is in a major key. Every single song is upbeat. All of them have positive messaging. All of them make me smile, and most of them are connected to a very positive experience. So I have a memory that triggers with that, and I listen through the whole playlist every single morning. Why? Because it creates a predictable response. I'm not just this guy all the time. I manufacture this shit every day because I'm purposeful about who I want to be, right? It makes me more productive. Jason.
Talking about this, and then, you guys started off with, what are you struggling with? What are you doing? And then, Joe called me out because I'm going to be the whiner today. Okay. So that's what you guys get from me. All right. But, it made me think, and everything you're saying right now, Joe and Tyler, that you've been talking about. One of the things that I struggled with, and I can pinpoint a time frame with this, it was about 2.5 years ago. Really tough time and just everything that was going on. I picked up a book called Un-F Yourself. And there was a lot of powerful things in that book about self-responsibility, everything else. But the most powerful one, and I started teaching it to my kids, was I asked him, I said, my 10-year-old, I said, hey, buddy, let me ask you, who do you think you talk to the most every day? And, I knew what he was going to say, well, my friend Jaden or my friend Joe or the girl across the street. And I said, okay. I said, do you ever catch yourself talking to yourself like in your head? And he kind of laughed a little bit and he goes, well, I do, Dad. I said, would you say that you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody else? And he said, you know what? I think I do. And I realized that about myself was I was talking to myself a lot, but during that time frame, it was probably the worst conversations I've ever had. So I had to realize that what I was saying to myself had such an impact on my day, my business, my mental health, my physical health. So that was something that I struggled with, and then I started getting much better at. So, that's something that we talked about when you guys asked what did we struggle with or what are we struggling with? Not so much struggling with it today. Today it's much better than what it was. But for those of you out there that maybe struggle with that, that's something that I think has a huge impact on your business when you're talking about gratitude and everything else. Watch your conversations to yourself. Oh, I wasn't good enough. Why didn't I get that listing? Why didn't, I didn't make it to the gym. Okay, that's fine. But turn that around. What did I learn from that listing? What did I learn from not getting that appointment? Watch how you talk to yourself. And then, to kind of jump in with kind of what you do, Joe, and others do with their motivation. When I go to the gym, it's a few things. It's either hardcore metal, depending on what the day's like for me at 4 a.m, or it's either 90s gangster rap. I don't know. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. And then if nobody's around, it's usually hardcore gangster rap because I can act tough, right? But if I'm not listening to that, I'll listen to Joe Rogan. I'll listen to what's his name? Anyways, I'll listen to different motivational guys, but they're more in your face motivation. If you want it, you got to get it. Take responsibility. Like that's the stuff that motivates me. And I find that when I do that in the morning, you find something like that in the morning, it really helps set my day. So the moral of what I was bringing to this is watch yourself talk to yourself. Switch that around and you'll find what it does to you.
Hey, Tyler, let me say real quick on this because I me with a stack of books here. In the four agreements, which Joanne's believes like I do. A lot of people might be a little new agey, but these are really good agreements. And the fourth agreement in the four agreements is always do your best. And the cool thing about that is that it says your best isn't always the same. Your best won't be the same the late in the day as it is early in the morning. Your best isn't going to be the same when you're sick as it is when you're feeling really good. Your best isn't going to be the same when you're, it gives the example drunk or sober. But the thing is that just always do your best, because that's giving ourselves grace. It's just, like on Tyler on Sunday, if the only thing he did that day was to go out and show one property, and then at the end of the day say, I only went out and showed one property, but you know what, after having 4 terminations on Saturday, that was my best. That's a good way to talk to yourself versus saying, shit, I should have worked all day Sunday after what happened to me Saturday. No, you did the best you could with that day, and give yourself some credit for that, because there's those times where it's like, if you don't have time to go to the gym, no, what if you went to the gym and you were in there for 15 minutes? Good. You stretched your body out. You did it, all you did was, shoulders, and then you left. If that was all you had time for, you did your best. Check that off and say, I did a good job. That was cool of me to go in there and take the time to put my shoes on and run in there really fast, and give yourself credit, rather than judging ourselves and beating ourselves up later and bringing shame and blame and stuff upon ourselves with that self-talk he was talking about. So just do your best and give yourself credit.
Joanne can speak first. I've got 2 things. So
Hi. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to agree with the power of the music. I mean, do you ever pull up onto a red light and the car next to you is just blasting this nasty, negative, mother effing this and that, and it's just like, ugh, gross.
Jason.
And it's scientifically proven that if you play classical music for your plants, they grow and thrive and are green and beautiful and happy. And when you play acid rock for your plants, they wither and turn black and die. I don't know if you guys knew that. And if you play country music for your plants, they'll cheat on each other. That's all I wanted to say.
well, and I got a couple things, and the first one to test the music thing. So I'm a musician. I play piano, so music's always been like a very special, important thing to me. But correlating music to like statements that a lot of us know of, like, oh, he's always just in his own way, or oh, she's just in her own head. Like those two things, like in their own way, in their own head, that's cabin fever. We weren't meant to be in our own heads and spaces. That's why like people who like work remotely from home and they're there all the time, right? And they feel like they've just taken this massive breath of fresh air when they go out with some friends on a Friday night because it's been 3 months since they've like done anything other than check the mail. Like we're not meant to be in our own heads like that at constant. And like a great example, right? Be boring and dull tonight, clean your kitchen, do your freaking dishes. Tomorrow, do it to some music. It's going to be a wildly two different like set of experiences. Right? Like guaranteed, throw the music on. Right? I have to attest to that. And to the things of getting stuck in these ruts, like I was saying to Joe yesterday, I know a lot of you, and many of you I don't know, but I'm more than willing to be completely raw. Like October last year to December, like literally pretty much until, I mean, it kind of crossed into January, but like October to December, that was absolutely the worst time of my life. I was having personal life issues like crazy, like, on a lot of different levels. I mean, I was having work related issues like crazy, and so in turn, of course, like it affected my business completely. Like everything was not good, and I trudged through, but my brain, I was just like, like what? Like I'm usually such a positive person. Like, what do I do with this? Like, how do I get out and everything else? And I thought about it on a bigger scale. And maybe this might help some of you too. Is like, think about the people, like husband and wife, they have their kids, life is great, but then son gets kicked out of school for stealing, or he brought a knife and it's chaos. And then there's death in the family and all the things. And like, we work with these people, they uproot their entire lives and move somewhere else because then it's new surroundings, new things, new people, new everything. And on a smaller scale, like not all of us can get up and do that. And like we have just inherited, like, our businesses are here or there or wherever, and everything else. But so I took that and I was like, well, what can I do on that smaller piece of everything? And like I live in a 3 stoplight town. The very first thing I started doing is looking at every single day. Everyone gets into their habits and the things that they just naturally do, and like this set order of things, nothing to do with time blocking, but like you have habits daily. And so the first one I addressed was the route I took to drive home. Instead of taking a right at the second stoplight, I took a right at the first stoplight just to change something. And that actually took me past like the creeks in a little park, instead of just being on the highway and then 3 turns and being home. It took a couple extra minutes, but just changing those little things. And I started just doing that more and more and more, right? And even to the point of like, oh, it was like my turn for dinner that night. And I was like, nope, pause. I'm going on a bike ride with the girls, just around the block. 15 minutes of my time was taken away, but it changed everything. It changed all the things. And like part of it has to do with being outside and like, doing that. But like that was like a huge thing for me. And then it's also turned into something, right, that like I coach on, because I ask people, and there's probably a lot of people who can testify in this room, and I'll actually pick on Jason again. Jason, out of your 100% of the day, how much time do you spend every day, 24 hours, being a real estate agent?
Well, I've time blocked 45 minutes for the gangster rap. And then, after that, my day's pretty much freed up. So funny that you say that, because that's one of the shifts that we've made in the last week and a half. And I feel like I've put in so much more work in the last week and a half. But realistically, out of an 8-hour day, a great day would be 6 hours. The average day is probably closer to 4. And I've learned not to fool myself with, oh, well, I'm doing work from 7 to 9 o'clock at home while I'm helping kids, while I'm doing stuff. That wasn't work. That was just kind of catch up. So on average, probably 4 to 6 hours per day of real estate real activities.
And because, and I asked this because it's what I had to ask myself to get myself out of the rut. How much time during the day am I a real estate agent? How much time during the day am I a dad? How much time during the day am I a husband? How much time in the day am I a friend? And how much time am I giving myself? And I was like, shit, I'm not giving anything to myself. Like, that sucks. And so I bring it to other people's attention because I want to ask that question, like, and put it in the chat box. I actually want to see. I'm actually going to open up the chat, right, instead of everyone alerting me of questions I don't see. Right? How much time do you actually give to yourself during the day or during the week? Like, and really think about it, right? Because, yep, Joanne knows, and like, I take a lot. I'm selfish. That's awesome. Steve's on it. All right, Steve, you're up. No, but like with that, like if you want a simple, quick, easy fix, maybe it's at the end of the day when everybody else goes to bed, or maybe like for me, it was in the morning. It was just like everybody wakes up at 6:30. I need to be up at 6. And for me, like earlier is better because then I don't have like the whole slew of the day behind me to think about weighing on my brain. In the morning, it's a lot easier because then I'm looking forward to the things to do. And like one, it helps me be a little bit more efficient and everything else. But that 30 minutes where I'm not a dad, I'm damn not an agent, right? Like I'm not husbanding. And like, you can do what you want. Listen to music, listen to an audiobook, and freaking work out, like, and freaking meditate. But taking it for yourself, it'll change your goddamn life. Like, it'll change you so much. Right? And like, those are just some of the little pieces of things like that, like I did. Because now, I mean, I'm doing better now than I have been in years. Right? But like getting through 3 months of absolute hell, and like and climbing out of it, right? Because the thing is, like, you don't have a choice. Like I said in the very beginning, it's a matter of what are you going to do about it. So that's my second part of that.
It's good to take that time too, because it's good for your mental health, and it's good to recharge, and it's good to sharpen the saw, and it's good to, feel good. So long as you don't abuse it, it's like I could tell myself, hey, I need to go out and golf, and I don't really care if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. I'm going to do it because I'm going to feel better. I'm going to, and then, if I started golfing at 2 o'clock every day for my mental health, then, it's like, okay, dude, you might have gone overboard a little bit. So, I think one of the things that's really huge too, and when we start talking about the market and stuff like that, and NAR or whatever else, is, we have to be really careful with the whole owner or victim mentality type thing, and we have to have that responsibility. So, I mean, one of the things that can lead to negativity or anxiety or depression is taking on that victim mentality and just sitting there saying, this sucks, until the rates go down, we're just screwed. No, that's not true. Yeah, there's a lot of people making a ton of money right now. So that's absolutely freaking nonsense. You might have to embrace the suck and work a little bit harder, but there's a ton to be made out there. And that's just a negative mindset. Talking about rates, talking about the inventory is a total negative mindset. This NAR opportunity is something to not be necessarily anxious about, and certainly not to be something that have some kind of a victim mentality about. There were a lot of people waiting for a market crash to be able to take advantage of that. But that was only going to benefit people that had a bunch of cash in their pocket. Our buddy John there sitting here going, I hope it crashes. Shut the hell up. That's good for you and sucks for me. So it's just like going, however, this NAR opportunity is something that could potentially benefit the rest of us. So, I mean, I'm not looking at it, I'm not taking it as a negative in any way, shape, or form. Tyler and I, when we were talking yesterday, we were both looking at it as a good thing. So I think that the number of people on this call, there's a way bigger percentage of people that could benefit from the NAR changes, that putting more money in our pocket than had we had a down market where people were going to be able to pick up properties cheap. You know, values would have went down, our commissions would have went down, you know, transactions would have went down. That would have sucked. But this NAR thing is actually going to give the stronger agents the opportunity to negotiate their own commissions and probably come out a little bit better. And ultimately, we're going to end up probably having less agents that aren't involved in groups like this, that aren't involved in companies like this, that are going to leave the industry. And the same number of sales are going to be done. We're going to pick up more volume. So it's actually a great time. The other thing that's really important between being an owner or being a victim in every situation is a victim is powerless. You know, if you're going to take on that victim mentality, and the minute you start saying, you know, it's going to suck until this happens, or, you know, the reason I'm not having success is because of this, the minute you've made yourself a victim, you've become powerless. And when you're powerless, that's how are you going to sit there and have a grateful mind? How are you going to sit there and feel strong? How are you going to have a positive attitude? If you can't be a victim, a powerless victim, and have a positive mindset at the same time. I mean, you can suffer through it proudly, but you're not going to be able to kick ass and take names if you're a victim. Victims are, you know, all the words I wanted to say were not acceptable for this call. You know, that you can't be that way. You know, you literally have to sit there. My wife, Wendy, ran a race this last weekend. And I think there were like 112 women or 115 or something like that were in it, something like that. And she took second. And it was a 15K mountain trail race, total ass kicker. I have a buddy that runs Spartan races and everything else like that. I was wondering if she would win or beat him, or if he would beat her. She beat him by over a half an hour. But before the race, and then again afterwards, what she said was, she goes, there's a section of the race where all of a sudden it's going to turn to gravel and it's going to be out in the sun. And she goes, and that's why I know I will pass a lot of people. Well, right now, we're on the gravel and in the sun. And how we act in that, are we going to be passing people when we're running in the gravel and in the sun right now? Or are we going to be getting passed by the people? Are we the victim that's running up going, it's hot and it's dusty and my feet hurt and God, the elevation sucks, while people are running by us? Everybody's running the same thing. That part of the course sucked just as bad for everybody. So why did some people pass and some people drop back? That's an owner victim thing right there. So that's where anytime, and that's why this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to set ourselves apart when other people don't want to embrace the suck or the perceived suck, and they want to become a victim and make excuses. So I challenge us right now that if we can keep our minds right, we can continue to not only succeed, but we can grow.
I love that, Joe. I just wrote down, remember challenges, slow down your competition if you warrior through, because I mean, you said that perfectly. That is a great quote. And the bottom line is, this is anything that affects an entire market, everyone, affects your competition. So the second you can use that, it's like everyone's having to pull their e-brake at once. If you can just pull yours even half as hard, you're going to absolutely blow past everyone. That's the mindset of a champion. A champion says, if it's going to slow down everyone, awesome. How do I slow down less than everybody else? I'll be in first place here shortly. Fantastic. I can't wait to get up and do the work, right? Instead of, it's happening to me. Boo freaking who. Life happens to everybody. Here's the punchline, everyone, all of you, everybody on this call, everyone watching this later on the recording, you're all going to die. That's the worst thing that'll happen to you. So between now and then, you get to live your life. Congratulations. Enjoy it. It's freaking awesome. Like, love every second. It doesn't matter. Something happened. I promise you, you'll be laying on your deathbed wishing you had more of whatever this is. I promise, because it doesn't matter whatever it is. Oh, it's happening to me. Yes, of course. Around you, to you, through you, near you. Doesn't matter. Use it. Blow past your competition. Let them get sucked into that victim thing. This is so hard for all of us. Oh, is it? first place. Awesome. Let's go. Right? Like, don't let it slow you down or deflate your energy, because that energy is what gets robbed, and then it robs your emotions. And then what you'll notice is everything's sad. And next thing you know, you got a bottle of Jack Daniels and you're in the shower, right? Like, that's not good, right? That's not normal. Got a couple of people laughing who are like, man, I might have done that one at one point. I have, well, whatever. It was a dark day. It's been a while, but just, I'm just saying, like, you can live past it. And what you'll realize, like, and everyone on this call who's older than I am, right? You can all say, like, have you been through really horrible stuff in your life? Anyone who's it doesn't matter what age you are. Have you been through something horrible and you're still alive? Have you been through something horrible and yet you had a good day again later on after the horrible thing, right? Like, you got back to good days again. So guess what? There's some in the future. Just be grateful for that good days are coming. It doesn't matter. But if you get sucked into the mire of what's going on, all you're doing is stepping in gum and then stepping in it some more to try and get it off. That's not going to work.
Yeah, and because I want a show of hands. Joe and I did speak to a good extent about the NAR stuff yesterday. Like, who's worried? Put it in the chat, raise your hand. Like, I want to know.
And we're not going to beat you up.
I mean, yeah, we're not going to beat you up.
Not on the call. Not on the call.
No, and part of it, like, so anybody who's in Oregon and the Oregon state meetings, are going on and like doing all the stuff, and like every Oregon State meeting, and then there's two Oregon State mentor meetings every single week. I've gone to tons of them. One, I wanted to learn all the NAR stuff through and through to kind of use it as a recruiting tool, because already I've seen like some situations where it's just like, why do I know more than you? You're like 20 years older than me. But having the knowledge, I in the most recent mentor meeting, maybe, I don't know. I mean, Brian Benjamin, I think, hates me at this point because I'm a jerk. But I sent him a message over, and I was like, why are we still talking about this crap? All the basics. Like, we're a month away. And this was last week. I was like, dude, we're a month away. I was like, do you mind if I chime in? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, so now that I've got the floor, what are we gonna do about it? What are the tactics? What are the tools? Like, what are we doing moving forward? And because, like, that's where our minds have to be with it. But also, an additional piece to that is, like, are you gonna be one of those old whiny agents? Because I mean, it started out as whining, like in the very beginning, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when these meetings started, and everybody was in this mindset, like, oh, why is this happening to us? Oh my God. And, like, the sky is falling. And there's two things to know. One, every single person on this call, as a real estate agent, if you're alive right now, which I hope all 21 of you are, this will be the single greatest opportunity in your entire career that we will ever see. Ever. There will be nothing like this, with interest rates high and all these things, and then how many agents are going to drop out. Like, there's so much market share to be had, because I'll tell you, like, I'm a jerk, and I've had some like run-ins with people who are like, oh no, the sky is falling, like, this sucks, like, that's the end of me. And I'm on point, like, yes it is, go away. I would love your sphere. I would love everything you've got. Yep, it's bad. It's so bad. And secondly, there's some kid out there working on his real estate license right now who's going to pass his test on August 17th, the day after, and he's not going to know any different. And he is going to wipe the floor with some agents who are still on the back burner of things, complaining and whining about it all, that it's different than it used to be. Like, he or she, like, they're not going to know any different, and they're just going to do it, and they're going to become great at it. And to what Joe was saying, like, the new salesperson who goes in and outsells everybody. And a lot of it has to do with the acronym KISS, like, keep it simple, stupid, and you don't know. But that's just it. Like, that's the world they're walking into and the career that they're starting. Right. So just a good couple of things to keep in mind, because like we can whine about it all day long, right? But I'm on point. Is like, how do we use it to the advantage? Right? How do we really construct some awesome creative offers? Like when we have them to wipe the floor with everybody else. Right? Like there's a lot to it that can be utilized. It's honestly one more tool in the tool belt. And you just need to know what it all is. Like a lot of those state meetings, there's like, I mean, and I can only speak to Oregon. I don't like the other state meetings that I've gone to. Hey, but with Oregon, there's a little less than 1,300 agents. The average of people in that room for the state meetings that they've been talking about these things, 43, 45. And it's like, wow, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can utilize it. Because I'll say, like, at this point, like for mindset with the NAR stuff, I'm going to tell you, my hammer's pretty big. Compared to a lot of people I talk to. So just, yeah, I don't know. Stay positive with it. Use it.
Is anybody that is concerned with the NAR situation or has any anxiety over it, willing to share what it is that their fear is on it, or maybe they're not sure how to position it? Anybody willing to share? Is that a maybe?
I'll share something.
All right.
My thing that I just can't seem to wrap my head around is when they keep talking about representation over compensation. And I mean, there's been several things that saying that you're still going to have to show the house, even if your agent can't pay you and the seller won't pay you, you still have to represent the buyer and you still need to show them the house. That makes zero sense to me. And I keep hearing it over and over again. So to me, it's like, no, I mean, I just don't see how that's going to work out. But I'm sure that we'll figure it out. But, we can't, they're saying we can't tell our sellers, that they should offer a buyer's agent commission. I mean, we're supposed to just say, hey, and they may include their buyer's agent commission in the offer if they can't pay them themselves. So there's all this like weird, semi not clear, it's just all fuzzy to me. I mean, I know we'll figure it out. I'm confident that it's going to be good for a lot of agents, and the agents who think that they're going to just show a house for $50 and do the offer for 500 can go ahead and try to do that, but good luck. We'll see how your tax returns turn out, right? So those I'm not worried about, but it's just the whole, how are we supposed to be able to hold our ground if we're expected to put representation over compensation and work for nothing if they can't pay us? That makes zero sense to me.
Well, where are you saying that you're not going to have to? I mean, are you saying you're a client? You have with a client that's not willing to sign a BAC that has compensation on it, and yet you're supposed to go out as a fiduciary and go out and represent. You can't even meet the obligations of EXP and the requirement to pay the company the minimum fee. You can't legally go out and represent them, because then you would actually have to pay EXP a minimum of $500 plus E&O plus transaction fee on behalf of the client, which you might not even be able to through the lending guideline. So I just don't buy into the fact that we don't have to show it because somebody, I mean, I'll just, what I'm saying? I mean, there's nothing that says we have to work for free.
Right, but that's the talk is even, like that's the cliche in the meetings is representation before compensation. So how does that work out when we obviously have to be paid? We'll see, but I mean, I just don't think that that's realistic.
And there's been talk, because, and this isn't confirmed yet for the state of Oregon, but like, that's one of the questions I asked Brian and Ted and them, the state brokers, is I was like, is there going to be a document that says that they sign off on, and that we will not look at any properties not offering concessions? And he said there are talks of something like that, and for the buyer just to understand and agree, like, nope, I don't have that kind of money, right, to be able to compensate and everything else. And also, I mean, it's going to be hairy because and I'll keep you in the loop on that, Joanne, because he said he'd update me. But it's gonna be a weird thing because I know, like, I'm a blunt jerk, right? And they're like, I'll call any listing agent and be like, oh, so you're not offering anything? That's great. So I have a pre-approved, ready, willing, and able buyer, and you have a house right in the school district and everything like that they want, right? What are you and your seller gonna do about it? I'll wait for your call back. Like, we're rootin' tootin'.
It's a concession situation.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if there's multiple offers on the property, or it just hit the market in one day, your buyer doesn't have any money, seller's not willing to pay that compensation, you're SOL. You know, it's just, that's not gonna happen right now. If it's been on the market 140 days, and you send over an offer saying, we need, $27,000 in, total, seller concessions to cover all things on our end, then it's going to be the exact same $27,000 it would have been to cover buyers' closing costs, agent commissions, and everything else like that. So, I mean, I think buyers that were in a weak situation before are going to be, in a weak situation still, potentially weaker. And, if anytime you need concessions when somebody else didn't, you're going to lose. And, so it's just, yeah, is it going to be better to be on the listing side? Yeah. But I still think there's times that, like right now, if I see something and they're offering two, well, months ago I was going to get two. Now I'm going to ask for more. So,
Joe, I totally agree. And do you think, I mean, I feel like let's fast forward a year from now. It's July 17th, 2025, right? So a year from today, this will have all shaken out, guys. And I put a quote in here from Steve Jobs where he said that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from non-successful ones is perseverance. It's your willingness to simply finish the race, right? A lot of people are going to stub their toe a little bit along their race, and they're going to go, my toe hurts. And then they're going to wham and get a popsicle and sit on the side of the road and watch their life fall apart. And let them, but just don't be them. Be you. Finish the race, no matter what. Scraped up, bloody, bleeding, bruised, missing an arm, don't care. Finish the race, because here's the thing. Once the bodies are by the side of the road and it's all sorted out, there will be the same, I've been saying this, it's super true, there will be the same number of houses that sell and buy every single year, and there will simply be fewer agents. And I hope that all of you watching this are in the cohort of the fewer agents who just make it to the other side. Just make it. I promise you, it's going to get easier. We're in winter. What happens after winter? Anybody? Do you remember? It's a season, right? Then spring. Everything, thank you, Steve. Everything grows, right? It all comes roaring back, and you get to ride the wave. But you don't get to ride the wave if you've taken a job as the new burger flipper at Wendy's, like a dodo. Don't do that to yourself, right? If you need to flip some stuff, you're going to go to, like Craigslist, by the way, has a free section. Go on there, grab some free crap this weekend, sell it on Facebook Marketplace. If you got nothing else to do, fine, make a couple bucks. Okay, keep moving. Like, I don't care what you have to do, but be resourceful and just make it to the finish line. Tyler.
No, that it's such a good point too, because it's like when you think about the market and you think about houses selling and everything else, and oh, this, that, the other thing, interest rates, and oh, the NAR, and oh, the this, and they like when I have agents ask me, or like people ask me, like is now a good time to become an agent, or like is it good right now being a real estate agent? It's like always, people are still dying. People are still divorcing. People are still investing. People are still being forced into relocation. And people are still hooking up with each other and having kids. Does anything that we've talked about at all, like anything real estate related, like at all, any of the factors change any of those five things? They never will. No matter what's going on. It's never going to change those five things. So there will always be business to be had.
Can I add something, guys?
yeah.
The one thing is about clarity of mind. How are we controlling our mind, which we're talking about here? How are we controlling our mind? And I love this saying is, don't believe everything you tell yourself. Don't believe everything you're thinking, because there's a lot of it that's wrong. right? And I'm living testament to that, guys. The last recession, I lost my mind. I became a victim. And I had money and I was a victim. I couldn't get out of my own way. I let things get, and I look back now and I think there was so many opportunities in the middle of all that that I just couldn't see because I believed everything my mind told me, and most of it was wrong. And I look back and I think, how could I be so clueless in the middle of that? Um, and I've come through that other side and learned a lot, and that's always the point of coming through things and that you learn. But as I tell agents, I laugh this idea of I'm going to go flip burgers, right, for $25 an hour, and a lot of people go do that, and I always think, if you just, I mean, is that what you want to do? I suppose it's easier because somebody tells you, but what if you just went and knocked on doors for 8 hours a day for 30 days? That might be painful, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get at least one deal that you're going to make 10 grand. No, hard it is to make 10 grand when you're flipping burgers at $20 an hour. Because once you do that, you don't have time to stay in the real estate business, right? So I think what you guys are saying is so critical about the victim mindset, right? Of that, it's hard not to be in that space, when things are down. So like you said, who are you putting yourself around? What things are you reading? How are you outworking yourself, making yourself doing hard things outside of real estate? Because when you do that, other things become easier, which you guys hit on, like, hey, are you working out now twice as hard? Because when you do that, you feel better about other things. And that's hard to do when you're feeling depressed or be a victim, right? Because you start pulling within. But the first instinct now is not to pull. The first thing needs to be not pull in, needs to push out. Push out. And I think you guys are hitting it all right on the head.
Well, you're right, John. It is that, yeah. Like, Jason was talking about a negative self-talk that he had, and we're all guilty of that. It is funny. I was, I mean, Tyler and I, admittedly, we both forgot we were doing this until Jeff texted yesterday morning. And but the great thing is it's like John Cheplack, great real estate coach. And he talks about going all through all the stuff that he went through, losing everything, alcoholism, all that kind of stuff. Couldn't drive, anything else. You're talking about, I had to go talk to a counselor or somebody on a bicycle. And the first thing the guy told him to do was to go help someone. He said, he's like, he's down and out and everything else. What should I do? He said, go help somebody. Like, what? It's like, yeah, go help somebody. And, it gave him the ability to kind of like, one, realize he had something to offer, but then, got some self-worth and everything else like that. But, it's like when having to get ready for this, which, we were ready for it a while back. We just forgot about it. But it all of a sudden puts you in that space where you're going, oh yeah, what are the things that get you out of the funk? What are the things I'm doing currently? What's happening to me this morning? It was great timing because of the fact that I was playing Grateful and, and going through some of that stuff. But it's just that baby step, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So it's, what can I do to just get things going? What can I do to just one little thing that's going to get me positive? I'm gonna be grateful for something, and I'm gonna go on a 20-minute walk. And and then I'm going to, maybe I'll go to the gym one day a week. But just get something going until all of a sudden you start to get a little bit of power going. Last book I have here to, what Jeff was saying as far as perseverance and everything is Man's Search for Meaning. It's a pretty skinny one. Most of my books are pretty skinny ones. But Viktor Frankl in his story has talked about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And Frankl was in a concentration camp. So the first half of the book is all about him going through life in a concentration camp. And he talks about, there's a quote that he says, everything can be taken from a man. This is cool. This is a book that I was really glad I read. When I read this, when I was killing it in subprime lending, I wasn't going through a tough time. I just needed meaning in my life. And I read this. And then how did I know that a couple of years later, I was going to lose everything and when the market crashed and lending went away, subprime went away, and all that kind of stuff. And the mentality from this really helped me a ton. Because he does talk about that ability to everybody has a right to control their mind in any given situation. His quote right here: "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." To choose your attitude in any given set of circumstances. What's going to be my attitude when I get onto the gravel road and I get in the sun? What's going to be my attitude when all of a sudden I'm in a concentration camp? He said that, half the people in there, a lot of the people were sharing their food with others, helping people along the way, doing different things to assist others on their struggles. And then some were actually stealing food and siding with the guards and doing this thing. Who are you going to become in a certain set of circumstances? And, maintaining your dignity and your strength and keeping your head up when things are at their worst that's a true showing of who you are. And then being able to do that and thrive, and set the example for your friends, your family members, your kids, to be able to sit there and say, look what this person did when times were tough, instead of, Mom, how come you still don't sell real estate? Everybody else seems like they're still selling. Oh, Jimmy, it was really tough. It was so hard, and people are mean, and, the rates were so dang high for a while, Jimmy. It's just like, no, just tell him you gave up. Just tell him you gave up. Tell him you didn't have the guts for it. Tell him you couldn't embrace the suck. Tell him you're a victim. Tell him the fucking truth. So there's plug into the right freaking groups, be in the right, freaking company, do the right freaking things. Don't be a wuss. I changed that word really quick. You're quit freaking whining. I mean, it is what it is. So, and it is a good opportunity the second you freaking believe it. The gravel road is an opportunity if you're looking at it as one. It's hard if you're looking at it as a gravel road in the sun. It's an opportunity if you're seeing what it's doing to those around you, and you're going to go blowing by them at that point in time. So, how are you going to respond in your own given set of circumstances? And how grateful for the fact that your power is on right now. You're sitting in front of a laptop. You have people that care about you. Start checking down. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. Right. And then when you do something, and when you get done with this at the end of the day, sit there and just go, what am I going to do? How am I going to start attacking things? How am I going to become more of an owner and less of a victim?
Joe, my grandfather used to say to me that everything prepares you for the next thing. And I think about that often, because when I'm going through something something challenging, I am looking for that grateful moment. And I think this can be an anchor. Anyone, feel free to steal it, make it your own, anybody, I don't care. It's super empowering, because when you feel like something's hard, what's really happening is the universe is preparing you for something greater, for something more challenging. Your muscle is getting flexed. Listen, when you go to the gym and you lift a weight, you're getting stronger, but it hurts after, or at least for me, it does. Right? Not a lot of gym time, obviously, but the muscle gets sore, right? The muscle gets sore. And so sometimes we're like, well, I wish it didn't hurt. If it doesn't hurt, you're just going to get soft. You're not going to grow that muscle that you need for whatever's next. So what could it be that's after this? That I'm not saying it's going to get harder and you need to be ready for that. I'm saying there might be something bigger, a bigger opportunity that requires perseverance, that requires dedication, that requires that you stick with it, where people who are looking at you right now maybe say, hey, I have this big thing that I want to do together, and we could do it together, right? Maybe let's partner up in real estate, and we're going to, in addition to selling, let's buy some properties. But they're not going to tap you for that if the first thing that they see from you is that you give up when it gets hard. Because that is your resume. Your resume is I tried and gave up, or your resume is I tried and I am a champion and I do not ever give up to my circumstances, period. End of story. It's your resume. It's your life story, right? but that it's your story. Remember that. And you're writing it in real time. And this is a chapter. It's happening right now. So for me, I always go through that and I just have this core belief that, oh, can things get hard? Sure, they can get a lot harder than this, by the way. Could you name in your mind anyone on this call right now? 20, but pick one, even one thing that could be alarmingly worse than anything that's going on in your life right now. Yeah, so be grateful that that one, whatever it was, is not real right now. Because there's always something worse. Always.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any tips or anything that they're doing personally to, to be positive, to be, dude, Wade, I am so freaking glad that you're the one that raised your hand, because I was looking at you on the screen. I was hoping you were paying attention. You're the most freaking positive, encouraging dude. And I wanted to call
thank
on
you.
but I didn't want to call on you 10 minutes to go in case you were in the middle of something. So how about it, man?
Well, I don't know how to raise hands, so I figured that out. So I was listening to this, and man, thank you guys for sharing with us all the ins and outs of everything going on in real estate. And I wrote down some notes, and people can take a look at this on how to stay positive and motivated in uncertainty. But one of the things that we feel is like this to us, we feel very blessed because we don't feel like this is an uncertain market. Matter of fact, we are receiving and more activity than we've ever have, and that's because we are active in the market. And I don't know if activity in this market is harder for some than most, because it's difficult, but we continue on because what we did 3 months ago is reacting to us now. And so that's our plan. It may not be productive at the moment, but it's being productive right now, especially over the last couple of weeks. And so I took down some notes here while you were talking. And my number one note was show up every morning with a plan and a purpose in place. Because if you show up with that plan and purpose in place, that's what is the old saying? That's 50% of the work is done right there. And try to have some of your distractions away from you. And it's a challenge to have a home office, for sure, but have that in place. But I listen to a lot of positive people, and then one of the things is that I do is I watch positive mentors on YouTube, and one guy in particular has helped me quite a bit, and I don't pay anything for it. He tries to get me to pay for his thing. Is Jeremy Miner. Very, very positive on the way that he talks and the way that his verbiage is out there. That's a pretty good thing. One of the other notes I took down is treat this as a business, not a job. If you treat this as a business, you will start planning your future. You'll start planning your weekend. Some of us do that, but I really looked at it and go, you know what? I'm not treating this as a business as I should, and be very, very hard on yourself, so that you can be more productive, because what Tyler said, there's going to be less realtors when there's more opportunity. And one of the things that I always challenge Joe with is that I'm going to work harder than him. So if he wants to outproduce me, he's going to have to work really hard, because no matter what, if I'm in competition with somebody else at that listing appointment, or nowadays it's buyer's appointments, right? If I'm at that listing appointment, I'm going to be prepared and I'm going to give it my best foot forward. If somebody beats me, that means they outworked me and they were better at creating that relationship with that client than I did. And I love to do open houses on the weekend. Tyler does some open houses with us and so forth. But one of the things is that I like to do and I like to instill is go out to coffee with one person a day, or maybe 3 times a day, or 3 times a week, just to have that conversation. You don't have to talk about real estate. They'll start talking to you about real estate because they're in your sphere. You've done some marketing to them. They know that you're an expert, but they also trust and respect you and like you. And once you establish that, then that coffee, they may not be in real estate, but let them know that, hey, if you have somebody that's interested, they're going to be listening over the next 3 weeks, keep me in mind. Just that extra little, nugget out there. But here's one of the things that we've really been, and I'm talking about Kelly and myself, and a lot of people don't know who Kelly is here on this call, but she's my business partner, my fiance. She's been in real estate for over 25 years, but we've become great at follow-up. That's the key right here, where we have to be as when we're treating this as a business. We've become great as follow-up. And I could hear in the other room right now making calls, and that's one of the great things. That's what I have to offer. But I love being positive. I see a lot of negativity in this NAR thing. I'm like, this NAR thing? What is it? I don't know. It's kind of an assumptive thing right now. Until August 17th comes out and they have something in writing, we're just pushing forward. And we're writing our BACs, we're talking to people about it, and we're training on Mondays. Next Monday at Southern Oregon, if you're there, come to the training. We're going to start role playing. We're going to be so well versed, so when everything finally hits ground, we're going to be well versed. And so I don't know if that was productive for anybody, but that was on my mind, on my thoughts. Not structured. I'm not a great speaker like Joe, but I just wanted to share some positivity out there, because that's what I'm all about. I love being positive, and I just shut out the negative, that goes on.
You're awesome, dude. No, I'm so glad you jumped in. I also love that Wade didn't say that he starts off every day with a plan. Wade said he starts off every day with a plan and a purpose. And that's the thing you get when you meet Wade is, well, you're going to get a hug, and you're going to get some love, and you're going to know that guy cares. And I'm sure that shines through on everything he does. When you say a plan and a purpose, what's the purpose? There was a reason to add that.
Well, our purpose is like everyone else. And everyone on here is, if you have the purpose in place and everything, and I don't want to get into religion, but my purpose is, I'm a Christian, and my purpose is to have Jesus in my heart and my life. And when I know that he's there, then I'm able to be positive, and I'm gonna be able to shed everything on there. And I don't mean to get in religion and everything, but that's my purpose. Every morning starts there and ends there.
Then you get to help people through with that.
Yes.
Driving force.
Well, you have a lot of shining light, my friend. Thanks for jumping in. Anybody else have anything want to get in here? Some of us are definitely long yappers, so
Yeah, hit Joe and I with anything if you've got it. Yeah.
Well, and as we're approaching our time here, I will say this idea of having a purpose every single day is going to be critical in terms of maintaining motivation, drive, and quite frankly, just the perseverance that Steve Jobs was talking about there, right? Ultimately, if we know that people with purpose will keep going even when things get hard, then make sure that you've really tapped into your purpose. Because without that, you're going to give up. Has anyone ever given up at anything? I have. Guess what? It wasn't connected to a purpose, and I can think about those moments every single time. I didn't truly care about them. It wasn't truly connected to an outcome that was necessary for me or connected to my emotions. And the second you connect your success or failure, by the way, especially failure, with your emotions, if you know that when you fail, other people suffer, you'll win. If you know that when you fail, you give up your gift, if you give up your blessing, if you give up your purpose, if you give up your potential, whatever it is for you that's connected to, then you keep going. And the core message we've been trying to just pound into everybody is do not give up, period. That has to be it. Do not give up, because others will. And every single time somebody drops, somebody else drops, somebody else drops, it gets just a fraction of a percentage easier for you. You don't realize it because you don't feel it that day. But guess when you will feel it? December, and it's July. So you got to hang in there. This has been an awesome call, guys. I really appreciate it. We're probably going to go ahead and punch our ticket right here. And
Let me say-
yeah, go ahead, Joe. Wrap us up.
Last thing here, real quick. When Wendy was running by people on that gravel road, and when we go running by people on that gravel road right now, because of the fact that we're focused and everything else like that, and we're motivated, we're not going to stop. She was also giving encouragement. Don't just run by people on a gravel road when they're struggling. Don't just go for the finish line and pass people up and say, look at me. Make sure as you're going by, you take the time to say, can I help you? Do you need water? But the hill we're almost at the top of the hill and it's downhill from here. Encourage others and give hope when you're going on that gravel road. It's not all about just winning ourselves.
Tyler, you got a final thought?
Oh, Joe just kind of hit the mic drop on that.
I love that. We can wrap with that, baby. That's good enough for me.